All right, folks. All righty then. We got a couple folks who can be. We got a couple folks who can be dropping by. I want it to be a surprise for you guys. So I'm not going to tell you all just yet who it is. Not going to tell you all just yet who it is. But good to have you folks on the live as you come on. Share the live. Smash that emoji button. I see Beatrice Selby and I see uh, former Deputy Mayor Akeem Peters. We got to catch up with Akeem a good day. What he's been up to since he has left City Hall. He's been a little too quiet for me liking. A little too quiet for my liking. Little too quiet. Little too quiet. So we'll have to catch up with him. Gonna gotta catch up with him. How you folks doing out there? How are you folks doing out there this afternoon? Can you guys hear us? All you hearing? Irwin Don, Unity Lias, and all the other folks. Good to have you guys here with us. Great to have you, beautiful folks, here with us. It's another day, folks, the 31st day of May. The Bills watching, we watching the Bills. Akeem, the Bills watching we, and we watching the Bills. Orindon says loud and clear. They can hear us loud and clear. Good to have each and every one of you there. I think I want to bring in my guests very early today. Who do we have with us today? I hope they got good internet connection. I hope they got good internet connection. Who do we have with us today? Folks, I would like to believe I have the Shadow Minister of Local Government and Local Government and Regional Development with us. Shadow Minister Ganesh Mahipal. I think I have Ganesh with us. Ganesh, are you there?
Yes, you do. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you and your viewers.
Excellent. Good afternoon to you as well, Ganesh. Folks, let us know if you can hear our guests. Do let us know. Tell us if you can hear our guests. Let us know if you can hear our guests. Ganesh, go right ahead. Say something else.
Yes, thank you for having me here, Duncan. I noticed that today we're having some nice sunshine after a while. But you know, the work continues, right?
Yep. A luta continua.
Luta continua.
Excellent. Ganesh, I know that you guys have been on the ground out there. You all have been on the ground and helping the candidates, as Camrad says, make the arguments. Folks said they're hearing you loud and clear. The folks are saying they're hearing you loud and clear. You've been out there making the arguments. Maybe touch on a couple places you've been to, and what is the mood on the ground. Let's start there. And I know Chris is going to jump in shortly, and the parliamentary opposition chief whip. Let me address him correctly, Christopher Jones, and the shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Amanzo Walton Desir. They're going to be joining us shortly. Go right ahead, Ganesh.
Thank you very much, Duncan. Allow me, first of all, to say to your listeners that the APNU AFC values local government elections. It is enshrined in our constitution, and it is about local leaders being elected by citizens within respective constituencies to represent the local citizens within the constituency.
Mm-hmm.
So, as much as possible, national leaders don't try to influence the decisions of these local bodies because of the power and the respect for local democracy. So I say that to say that unlike the People's Party, we are not centralizing the approach as those uh, national elections. Our interest is not to fool the people. Our interest is not to misguide the people of this country, but rather for them to and recognize that the leaders from within their right location represent in our presence on the ground is support the people whom we believe share the technology, same principle, and same guidance as we do at the national level. We believe at the local government system
Uh-huh.
there are persons who ascribe to the belief that local democracy is for the grassroots orientation of a country, good governance coupled with accountability and transparency. And our support in areas of vertical, for example, where I had to of these, I have seen committed
Ganesh,
individuals that are driven for
Ganesh, you're breaking up at my end a little bit. I don't know if it's the same for our listeners. So ensure you pick a good spot and anchor down with us.
I want to believe it is I want to believe a heavy feedback at my if it's really me.
You're getting a feedback. We're
But
not
are you
getting.
hearing?
Yeah, we're hearing you. We're hearing you good. I don't have a feedback at my end. Apologies there. We're gonna see if we can rectify that.
Okay, I was saying I had the privilege of being in Bartica, where I met enthusiastic young people that are ready to take the mantle of their constituency, local elections. They understand clearly this is not an election where it is a battle between PNP and people. It is most certainly not that. Our country will be going into different 80 different local authority areas. And in one of these areas, people will be electing or electing their local representatives. In some cases, you have persons who have come together as groups and they are running independently because they want no association party nor direct association. If but they are most of the independent candidates, if not all, they ascribe to principles that the APN holds and respect for our local democracy, respect enshrined in our constitution, and respect the fact that local governance and the local government system is very bedrock of representing people and bringing a comfortable life to them and by fixing matters that are affecting residents at the local level. I have had of being in of being in Region 7, Region 3, Region 5, Region 6, Region 10, and recognize how concerned the residents are at a level, how committed the residents are, and how much they are on the ground knocking doors and they are allowing themselves to be fooled by the manner in which the progressive parties operate, trying to put a cloak over all, spend of it being a national election of using people, and operating Victoria in the manner in which they are.
All right, all right. Ganesh, I want us to try to find a quick workaround because we want to hear your audio a little more crisp. Right? So I'm looking for a quick workaround because we want to hear the audio crisp. Right? So check your messages for us. and let's see if we have a better workaround, because we want the folks to hear. We think we might have a good workaround. Hazelin says he's breaking up a bit, right? Somebody said they cannot access GCOM's website. We're going to try to get a clearer audio. Bantu King wants to know if Ganesh is driving. I don't know if you can have a moment. You have a car. I have a car. We all have a car. Because is it going to be that kind of moment? Because if it's that, I ain't driving. I ain't driving at all. Not driving. All right, MP Ganesh, may Paul, you back with us?
Yes, I am. I'm not sure how much you heard me just now.
All right, you can go right over again if you want to. Folks said you were breaking up a little bit. Go right ahead.
Okay, I was making the case that local government elections is not really a national elections or a fight between the PNC and the PPP. It is
Hmm.
really local leaders within constituencies putting themselves up to be considered by the citizenry within the constituencies and for the citizenry to elect them to represent their interests directly on matters that are directly affecting their well being and their existence within the constituencies. The
Hmm.
matters are matters that are of simple, that are very simple, but yet it warrants that degree of representation to bring comfort to the lives and livelihood of the people within the constituency. So, as much as the People's Progressive Party is trying to hoodwink the public, trying to play optics politics, and trying to basically lead in the way of what I consider to be deception and distraction by
Hmm.
way of nationalizing this local government elections to pull a few people from here and pull a few people from there and send a message as though the PPP is one good great party. What they're really doing, Sherrod, is they're trying to centralize back power and
Yeah. Yep.
centralize
Yep.
authority by way of having total disrespect for a system that was set up primarily to ensure decentralization and to ensure that representation is managed from bottom up. If people fall prey into believing this narrative of the People's Progressive Party, we are going to have a situation where the People's Progressive Party is just going to be dictators sending down instructions and decisions and not respecting and allowing the local leaders to function effectively. That is why, Sherrod, the APNU is not interfering with the decision makers at the local level. All the candidates that are under the APNU umbrella were selected by the people of the respective constituencies. And that is why I made the case very clear that at no point in time can you find dead people's signature on
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
support candidature list because the people in the community endorsed those who have put their name up to run under the banner of the APNU. We also have a number of groups that are running independent of these two political giants, and these are people who recognize that their constituency requires that degree of independence. I am happy to say that most, if not all, of the independent runners they subscribe to the ideology and they subscribe to the belief practice and they subscribe wholly to the manner in which the APNU AFC has objectively placed the local government election, and that is to respect the choice of the local leaders and how they will decide on who run within their constituency. I want to say also that people must go out and vote resoundingly
Correct. Correct.
against the People's Progressive Party in particular, because we do not wish to be governed by any degree of dictatorship. If you are to carefully analyze the tactic and the strategy of the People's Progressive Party, it is really one of centralization. It is one where they want total control and dominance, and they want to singularly decide from the top how the entire country must be managed and run. We as Guyanese must not allow that democracy to leave us. We must not allow the guardrails of the democracy to fall, and we must not give the People's Progressive Party that opportunity to believe they have total control over our lives. We have the opportunity now to put right thinking Guyanese,
Mm-hmm.
Guyanese that are
Mm-hmm.
objective. We have the opportunity to put sensible and sane people who can stand up to hooliganism, who can stand up to bullyism, and who can stand up to this kind of barbarism that the People's Progressive Party is well known for. I appeal to all the voters, every single one. Leave the comforts of your home, go out and vote resoundingly and vote against the People's Progressive Party that is really and truly punishing us in this oil economy and only allowing their friends, families, and favorites to enjoy the wealth of a country that is supposed to have comfort for all Guyanese, something we're not enjoying.
Yep, yep. I think you said it there. You said it there. You know, there's so much happening, Danish. There is so much. There is so much happening that Guyanese can look and see. You know, and you could only ask yourself, am I better off than I was 2.5, 3 years ago?
Exactly. And you
You know,
have to look at what cost of living is doing to people. Transportation cost has gone up. Everything has basically skyrocketed. And there seems to be no concern with the People's Progressive Party. And that we are looking at the safety of our people, the security threat, the health system is in decay, agriculture is really punishing. And when you look at the various sectors of our society, the only thing the People's Progressive Party seems to be hammering home to us is oil, oil, and oil, but yet we are not feeling the oil wealth. We are not receiving the oil wealth at the lower level, and people's lives are not becoming better. We still have a series of deplorable roads around the country. This government
many.
is talking about construction of roads, but as they construct 1 kilometer of road, you are finding that 10 kilometers of roads are being damaged daily to construct that 1 kilometer. I have traversed recently right on the east bank of Demerara, and you have Junior Sammy trucks, these big, gigantic trucks traversing newly constructed roads, damaging it to build a new road. What is the sensibleness of such stupidity? The People's Progressive Party is wicked, Sherrod, and we have to continue to call them out. The people of Guyana must speak out and speak up loudly and have no fear for them and their kind of approach. We must not give in and fall prey to their stupidity and to their ignorance. They're trying to capitalize to have a singular unit of force. Dictatorship is what they're aiming. They have a vision in front of them that they're working with, and that is total control and domination. And anytime we end up like that, we will suffer worse than these
Hello,
countries that had dictatorship.
Yep, yep, yep. Folks, that is Danish Maipol, and we are
hello.
now joined by Christopher Jones. Chris, a very good day to you. Chief Whip, we're hearing you. Good day. Is this Ganesh phone with all of the wind? Let me see. Chris, a very good day. Are you there? Are you there? I love the fact I heard them complaining about going to homes in Linden and people turning them away. So we ain't got time with y'all. Don't have time for that. Time is precious. Chris, we hearing you. Chris, go right ahead. We can hear you. All right.
Hello.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Watch your mic or your speaker. We can hear you. I'm messaging him behind the scenes, folks. Let him know we can hear him. As you folks said, well said, Ganesh. MP, my Paul jumping back until Chris joins us.
No, well, I'm happy that your viewership understands what is happening, Sherrod, and they're paying keen attention to the system of governance that we have in our country, and we cannot afford to allow total control and domination. And I'm happy that they have recognized it. I don't want them to only recognize it, but I want them to assist us in spreading the information. I want them to dominate social media. I want them to dominate the airways. I
Uh-huh.
want him to
Uh-huh.
take control of TikTok and all the other avenues to assist us in spreading the message, because we are as a country hurting significantly at the People's Progressive Party and their management style. We are still mourning that Madia Inferno, and I want to take the opportunity to cement my view that Minister Nigel Dharamlal is relatively silent on this issue, something that we cannot afford to keep. And Madia also will be heading to the local government elections at the municipality level for Madia, and the people there must vote resoundingly against the People's Progressive Party. And we have to change the system of operations at the national level, where they bring these REOs and just drop them on communities and drop them into the regions. And these REOs sometimes get elected to office and they don't deliver anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep, yep. All right, folks, we are managing at our end. I think we just lost Ganesh, but we're joined by the parliamentary opposition chief whip, Christopher Jones. Chris, jump right in. We're talking about the local government election. The pulse, what's happening on the ground? We've seen you guys moving around, campaigning, encouraging people to come out and vote. What's happening on the ground? Ganesh, sorry we lost you there.
Yeah, that's all right. I was making the point that these REOs are very, very political. Sometimes they're more political than the elected political leaders
Correct.
of our country. And
Correct.
these are the people that are supposed to be operating on a public service level, and they're supposed to be the ones to basically protect the resources and spend it in an equitable manner in keeping with the directives of the policy, and not necessarily the directives of any political minister or the likes. But we don't have those kinds of systems. We are working as an opposition, I know, towards holding them accountable, suggesting amendments to laws and so on, so that we can have a proper structure and a proper governance system in place. But again, Sharad, I want to maintain the call for our people to assist us in fighting this battle. Don't just hear us here on these
Yeah.
various
Yeah. Yeah.
platforms, but assist us by also sounding your voices and
Yeah.
registering your complaints. Be bold enough to speak out and speak up, and have no fear. They can't damage you in any way, shape, or form. And even if they attempt to do that, it will not be long lasting, because together we will move mountains to unseat them and replace them by competent authorities that are within the APNU AFC.
Well said again. Well said again. Chief Whip, jump in. We can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm now hearing you guys.
Excellent.
Apologies.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Um. So the unfortunate thing for me is that I would have missed what Ganesh and Amanza would have added earlier. But
Amanza
I
hasn't joined us yet. Ganesh is with us.
Okay, great. So listen, as I've been speaking to at these public meetings across various constituencies,
Uh-huh.
particularly in the municipalities, thus far Georgetown and New Amsterdam, and I am happy I have the opportunity to speak here, and this will go out even louder, is that essentially these local government elections is much bigger than the People's Progressive Party Civic is letting on in many of the communities. They are giving you the impression that the main objective or the ultimate objective of the People's Progressive Party Civic is to clean the city, is to
Mm-hmm.
clean the
Mm-hmm.
drain and put up lights and that sort of thing. Everything that the People's Progressive Party Civic says to you, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. There is always method to their madness. The
Mm-hmm.
PPP does nothing unless it will benefit, particularly its friends, family, and favorites. Nothing they do unless they benefit. Now, in these municipalities, and I want to single out Georgetown, but not exclusive to Georgetown,
Mm-hmm.
New Amsterdam, Linden, and Bartik included, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of properties within the municipalities of Georgetown, Linden, New Amsterdam, Bartika, just to name a few, of which you have thousands of residents in the capital city or in the municipalities that have huge outstanding rates and taxes.
Yeah.
And you would know, Sherrod, as the former deputy mayor
Yeah.
of Georgetown, is that by law, the municipality have every right to foreclose on your property and sell it. Throughout the years, the municipality has been available, have been making available to people amnesty, in which they have an opportunity to pay without the interest being accrued on what arrears that they owe.
Mm-hmm.
The people's now Guyana is known as an oil producing country now. In fact, Guyana has been dubbed the next Dubai of the Caribbean or South America.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you have thousands of people who are coming to our shores. If you note within the last year and a half, and as somebody who is a part of real estate, rent for apartments have moved from $40,000 a month upwards to
Oh yes.
$140,000 a month.
Oh
And
yes.
many of these expatriates that are coming to this country to work in the oil and gas industry, they are trying to get housing within the capital city, within the capital economic hub of the city. The People's Progressive Party Civic wants control of the municipality because by virtue of having control, those very properties that I spoke about that have outstanding rates and taxes, that by law the municipality is supposed to foreclose and sell those property. That is what the
No.
PPP wants to get their hands on. I said to the people in Albaistong and Pontrench and the surrounding areas where you have that huge two-side road being built from Vicinjan Road all the way to Safwan Street, and some people are celebrating. Now, rightfully so, development in any community should be celebrated. But again, there is always method to the PPP's madness. The PPP does nothing unless they have some benefit to be derived. I
Mm-hmm.
said to the people in Albaisang and Pontrench, that road that is being constructed is not for you. Those roads are being put down in preparation for the land developers who are coming and have already started to move in various parts of the city to purchase those same properties. Now, you know, in those communities, they have shacks, old houses, or whatnot. You have many families who are living in some houses in Georgetown that the most they can tell you in terms of ownership is that they can say to you is that, oh, my grandmother barn and grow here, me mother barn and grow here, and I grew up here. And you ask them who has the transport for the property, nobody knows, and so forth. And those are the very properties that the People's Progressive Party Civic and their people are coming after. So
Correct.
if they have control of the municipality, they have all authorities to foreclose on those properties. Said to the people in Baisang and Pontrench, you give it within a few months. The developers are going to go through there. They're going to offer people who have this little shanty house or whatever the case be a little $10 million. They may assume that the $10 million is a lot of money and they may sell their property. And you pass back through those same areas like Pontrench and Tiger Bay and Baisang and whatnot, you'll want to know if you're in the same city. When you see the 3-story, 4-story apartment buildings being erected, look, for example, where the new road, just off of where the Jumbie board is. Before the road was even finished constructing, all of those lands along there have already
Yeah.
been sold already
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
that is how developers operate. Where roads are being constructed, that is where developers move because they want to get in real estate. It's about real estate. I said, like for example, all of us that resides in South Georgetown, that is everybody south of home stretch. Whether it's your Meadowbrook and Tugville and Baistong and Roxanne, Barnum, Garden, Rasville, and so forth, just to name a few, North and South Rumvelt, we are in South Georgetown. This right here is right now the jewel and the crown of this entire country. And this is what the PPP and their financiers are trying to get their hands on. So that is why the PPP is trying to get into the municipality. It has nothing to do with fixing road and digging drain. The People's Progressive Party Civic was there for 23 years. They done absolutely nothing in the capital city. You had a
Facts.
huge garbage pile up outside of Starbrook Market, in which a sitting local government minister said live that he hoped that an outbreak, you remember this, an outbreak in the capital
Go.
city. That is what they were wishing on the people of Georgetown. Now that Guyana is producing oil, the PPP see economics. The PPP financiers see economic value. And that's why they're placing emphasis on all of these municipalities. As I said to the folks in New Amsterdam last night, the shore base is being set up there in Berbice. And therefore, the property value again in New Amsterdam is the same thing. What is going to happen in Linden? There is the move to have the road link between Linden all the way to Brazil through Lethem. And therefore, the main economic hub of Region 10 will be Linden. And that is why the PPP is trying to get their hands on those municipalities. It is not by accident. It is very unfortunate that you have those lost souls, that I would call them, who would sell their soul for a box of cook-up rice, $10,000, and a red T-shirt, and run around this city trying to convince people that they should vote for the People's Progressive Party Civic. The
Madness.
PPP
Madness.
has exactly the PPP has a past, and we must not forget the past. You know, they speak about people who forget their past are destined to make the same mistake again. The People's Progressive Party Civic has not been good to Ghana and Guyanese, in particular, of one ethnic group. We recall the Phantom Death Squad, the operation of the Raja. Can you name it? The PPP did it. All of a sudden, Bharat Jagdeo is leading the charge as the most wholesome individual that you can find in the country. Big smile and all of that. And they're trying to convince you to vote for the PPP. If you reside in any of these municipalities, the PPP's objective is to take over your property because of the developers that they have, and especially those along the back road, Mandela Avenue, Pontrench, Albystone. Take note. You will see the housing department will come into your area and offer you land. They will give you a piece of paper and tell you that you own a land somewhere up there. You will smile and be excited, and you would have every right to be excited because you have a document in your hand that says that you own a piece of land. But
Hmm.
when you go there, you can do nothing on the land because the land is not ready to be developed.
Jungle. Yeah.
Your economic income, you can't go to the bank to get a loan to build, so you end up with nothing more than a piece of paper in your hand, and you lose your property that you have. The plan by the APNU, and has been consistent from since the APNU AFC took the municipality, is to ensure that the city is kept clean, road infrastructure continue to develop, play field and burial ground are kept tidy, and so forth. And they always have a soft heart when it comes to residents who have fallen on hard times in terms of paying their rates and taxes. The People's Progressive Party Civic will take every property that has outstanding rates and taxes in this city and dispossess people in these municipalities of their properties,
Uh-huh.
because their
Hmm.
friends and family have the plans to build these multi-billion dollars apartment building because of all of these expatriates that are coming to Ghana to work in the oil and gas industry.
Very well. And you know what? I heard Jagdeo just recently saying in one of his press conferences that we're the ones who are making propaganda and telling the people, for instance, on the front road here in East Rheinveld, that they want the land, but they've never had a heavy hand with squatters and they don't have a policy of removing people. Live like when Harsh shot in. Ganesh, Chris, lie like when Harsh shot in. Jump in anytime.
Like Ganesh get bounced off.
I'm certain he's going to pop back in.
Yeah.
Right ahead,
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah, but and that is the point. It bewilders me when you look around and no, let me put it this way. Let me put it this way in terms of trying to be somewhat fair to those people who are pomposetting themselves in red t-shirts and around the place. And this is the other policy of the PPP. They rule with an iron fist. The People's Progressive Party Civic rule with fear and intimidation. And a lot of those young contractors, especially when you saw nomination day, that you had a set of young faces, African faces amongst the
Hmm.
PPP.
Hmm.
And many of those youngsters tell me that, listen, by we get a little contract here, and the PS of the ministry, or the person in charge of works, told them that, listen, you should come out to this thing, because if you don't do it, you would lose your contract. You have those
Yeah.
10-day workers, as they call them. The same thing they did to them. And that is how the PPP rule. That's how they manage a country, by fear and intimidation. So you imagine if you threaten somebody, threaten their economic well-being, threaten the means in which they feed their family and clothe their family and house their family.
Yep. 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 It's such a.
And the
It's such
people
a.
will do what you require them to do. And that's why a lot of those folks that you saw in the red t-shirts up and down, and even to the ones that are doing it now, it is because they have been threatened that if you don't do it, you're not gonna get a contract anymore. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
do it, you're not gonna get your
Mm-hmm.
10-day work no more, and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. And that is why they're out there. But let me tell you something. At some point in time, people have to know where to draw the line,
Yeah.
because it is bigger than you. Because of what you are doing, because of what you're doing for the PPP, you are part and parcel of dispossessing people of their properties, dispossessing people of their economic well being, all for what? A $5,000, a $10,000. And the gods that we serve, whether you're Hindu, Christian, or Muslim, the gods will judge you harshly. Last but not least, some may be offended with my comments, but so be it. Because unless you speak about the elephant in the room, and that is something that we people always want to shy away from, they don't want to speak about the elephant in the room. I said to the folks last night when I spoke with them, and this is why the PVP is using many African faces in their campaign. If you go back to the days of slavery, you would never heard or would have read that you had white men chasing behind the African people in Africa to enslave them. It was always the African who have been running and chasing behind the African to enslave them, because those are the only one that could catch them. And that is the same system in which the PPP is employing now. Is that, listen, if you want to win Georgetown,
Go right ahead.
just a majority of African Guyanese resides there, then you get African Guyanese to put on red t-shirt and send them in the area.
Yeah.
And at the
Yeah.
end of
Yeah.
and at the end of the process is all that will be enslaved, economically, socially, and otherwise. That is what is happening here. And that is the PPP. And don't ever try to shy away from speaking about the elephant in the room, because that is the elephant in the room. Racial discrimination, political discrimination, and economic discrimination exists in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana,
Mm-hmm.
exists in the Cooperative Oil Producing Republic of Guyana. That is why I was happy last night when I read the news coming out from the UN, in which you had a prodigy making representation there. And it is exactly what the art, I think was Attorney at Law Nigel Hughes, exactly what he articulated there. It is what is happening in Guyana. It is
Mm-hmm.
all about face and show and pictures. Take photograph up, smiling faces, one Guyana, and the pampers at this all over the place. The reality is completely different. And as we keep saying to people, that in life and politics, there's perception and there is reality. The perception out there is that Guyana is one Guyana. The perception out there is that all Guyanese live in harmony. The perception out there is that every Guyanese, irrespective of his race or political persuasion, has equal access to the economic benefits of the country. The reality is the opposite. The
Yep. Yep.
reality is
Yep.
the opposite. Case in point, take, for example, the indigenous people, in which they have been requested not to fell trees in their area, even for their own economic survival or well-being, all because of this climate change, and keeping the forest standing. And as a result of doing that, you will be rewarded economically. When the benefits came to the country, it is the PPP who decided that, listen, only this percentage the Amerindian people can get.
Correct. Correct.
Where is the rest of the money? You understand me? That is
Correct.
no, no. You're Amerindian. Y'all don't know about spending money. You don't need this. And it is the same thing that is happening in the African communities as well. When the People's Progressive Party Civic would give 100 young African contractor contracts to do some minor work, 50,000, 150,000, and so forth. At the same time, you will have about 15 or 20 East Indian contractors who will get contracts for $400 million and $1 billion. Now, mind you, we have no objection to them receiving big contracts, but it has to be distributed equally. And that is what is not happening in this country. Some time ago, I made the point that the commercial banks in this country too are equally culpable for the economic deprivation of African Guyanese in this country. Is
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
challenge them then, and I challenge them here today again to show us, give us the statistics, give us the figures of how many loans your bank would have approved within, let's say, within the last year or 2 years or even 5 years. Give us the percentage of African Guyanese, East Indian Guyanese, Amerindian Guyanese, Portuguese Guyanese, and so on that has benefit. And you know, they say numbers don't lie. And to
Mhm.
this date,
Talk to
not
us.
one single commercial bank in this country could take up the challenge to prove me wrong. And that will tell the story. And even if the percentage are equal, then you ask them how much,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I could approve 100 person for loan and it could be $1,000 loan.
Mhm.
Whereas I could approve 50 people for $6 million each loan. It is a big difference. And that is what is happening in this country. And the commercial banks get that because that is how the central governments operate. Even with land distribution, we recall when the PPP just came into office, immediately, they said that they will dispossess people of lands that were
Correct.
given
Correct.
under the AP and UAFC.
Correct.
Mind you,
And they
all of
did.
those lands, and they did. And look at who the ones, the owner of Cartier,
Correct. Correct.
Bradford. Look at
Correct.
the Sivan's Waste Management.
Correct.
All Africans. You saw the Attorney General Anin Nandalal left the comfort of his home in Georgetown, travel all the way
Kingley.
to West Coast Babisa
Yeah.
Kingley.
Kingley. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and what did he instructed his
Broke down.
supporters?
Marshall.
More exactly,
Yeah.
mainly of East Indian descent.
Yeah.
Operate like if the land is yours. You
Yeah.
understand me? Blatant
Break down the
economic
fence.
deprivation that is happening in this country. That is a reality. And that's why we say to people in these local government elections, don't just look at it as, oh man, it's just a small election, it's not a big election. I don't have to go and vote. It is as big as the general and regional elections.
Uh-huh.
Because if you allow the Progressive Party Civic to take the municipalities and the NDCs, as I said to you, PPP does nothing unless it will benefit. Nothing. If they build the road by the roundabout, and everybody like, oh God, nice road we could get from Georgetown to the East Bank. It's the big financiers who got the lands.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you see what is being built there is not no house, not no two-bedroom house, it's hotels. You know,
Mhm.
no, you welcome these development because obviously um it provides job opportunities and so forth. But again, it is the PPP we dealing with,
Yeah.
and they do
Yeah.
nothing on. Listen to me. I am pretty sure Jagdeo has a little chick black book somewhere in the back pocket. And he done got the man who will get the whole of Pond Trench. He could get the man who will get Pond Trench East, Pond Trench West, the island, part of the island, all by Song Street 1, all by Song Street 2, Back Road, East Renville, West Renville, and South. It's not by accident. You know there's another road supposed to be tearing through Abaca South, coming all the way to Ogle. Therefore, if you live in anywhere around North or South Rumville, Aubrey Barker Street will take you right out to that road.
Mhm.
Any financier, any developer would happily glad to get houses in that area to build apartments because they have access to roads.
Yep. And
Where
Chris,
road
there
is
were
built,
people farming at the back there who were moved.
exactly, exactly. So don't be fooled. And Sherrod, September this year will mark 26 years for me since I've been in the hustings in this country.
Mhm.
I mean, started real young.
Yeah.
And I've had 26 years experience of the PPP, and not from looking from the outside looking in, literally from being apart. I can tell you from issues that you, Desmond Hoyt, Derek Bernard, Dr. Faith Harding, all gone to the great beyond, used to be championing against the PPP. I can tell you about the issues that
All right. It seems that we have.
I can tell you about the issues that Robert Corbyn was faced with and confronted. The same issues that David Granger was, and even to now, the PPP has not changed. The PPP is, in fact, I should say this: the PPP has changed from the PPP that we know of Chedi Jagan and Janet Jagan. This is a different PPP. The PPP that I know of in the earlier days about the Jargon PPP, which dealt and exclusively focused on human development, rights of freedom, rights of trade unionists, rights of public servants to be paid proper wages and salaries and so forth. Since the
Mhm.
death of Cherry Jagan, this has become a different PPP. This is a PPP album money. Since Jack the up in the thing is all about money. It's only if money is to be made, he did it. Ask
Yeah,
Jagdio
yeah,
about
yeah.
Sue. Ask
Hmm,
Jagdio
hmm.
about Sue. So much so that he gets set up. Jagdio is all about money. And the little cabal that Jagdio has around him is all about that. That's their only focus. Up to now, public servants can't receive a proper increase in wages and salary. You think it's by accident? No. Public servants don't traditionally support the PPP, so therefore we don't give a rat's ass about you.
Hmm,
It's not
hmm.
about you. You understand me? You see, for example, with the sugar industry, from years, I recall Winston Murray in the parliament. Winston Murray in parliament speaking about the prices to produce a pound of sugar in the country makes no sense now. And how many countries are moving away from sugar since Winston Murray days. The industry started to be closed under the PPP, right into the APNU. Sugar workers all received their compensation, full compensation. The PPP came into office,
Oh
breached the
yes.
laws of this country, pay sugar workers another compensation, and up to now you have and mind you, the workers in the sugar industry are predominantly East Indian Guyanese, and
Hmm.
mind you, the bauxite workers in Linden, many of which to this day are still awaiting their compensation. It tells the blatant story. In the parliament, you were there, Sherrod, the Minister of Agriculture, when questioned about how is it that sugar workers are going to be receiving a second severance pay when they have already been paid by the AP and you government. He said there that it was a PPP campaign promise. So it is fulfilling campaign promises. You go through all of the villages across this country and you jump from East Indians and African villages and so forth, and you will see blatant discrimination. One village has paved roads from front to back, nice wide open roads, street lights, drains completely dug, fancy play field, burial ground, look like you could keep a picnic inside. And then jump to the other village, broke up wave, no light, street bad, place flooding, place stench. That
Yeah,
is a reality.
yeah.
When I listen sometime to Freddie Kissoon on his program, it leaves me in awe. It leaves me in awe
How
because
so?
Freddie Kissoon had one of the most blatant example of the PPP when he at his home there on the line top. The PPP was doing the silting of the drains. Sherrod, they dug the drain all the way from the University of Ghana Road, come all the way down. They stopped by Freddie Kissoon's fence. They skip and come to the other fence of Freddie Kissoon and continue cleaning. It made front page news, all because Freddie Kissoon, like every Guyanese who should have a right to voice their dissatisfaction with a government. Because he did so, that is what the PPP, that is the penalty that the PPP did to him. And then worse off, when he continued, they organized one of their own minions to fling feces in Freddie
Hmm.
Kissoon's face
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
road.
yeah,
You understand me? So now when
yeah.
you see Freddie Kissoon back on the mic, it's be like, yeah, serious? You understand me? It is the weirdest thing. And Sharon, listen, as long as my children continue to reside in Guyana, I will continue to be that voice of the opposition to the PPP. And I will
Amen to that.
continue to preach the story about the PPP. The PPP don't like you. They don't like you. I don't understand how people get carried away when PPP come in the community and our minister are hugging it. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. These are the same people who sat in a government in which it was carried on the BBC and Al Jazeera and all of that about an operation of a phantom death squad in this
Yeah.
country. You had a sitting minister,
Spy
Ronald
equipment.
Gadraj,
Yep.
who admitted of having this phantom death squad in operation. You had
Yeah.
Shahid Raja Khan publish a full page advertisement telling
Yeah.
all
Kaichur.
and
Kaichur.
sundry,
Yeah.
exactly, telling
He
all
was
and
part.
sundry
He
that
was part of it.
he's part of it. He's operating this squad to keep the
Yeah.
PPP in power. That is the reality. That is the PPP. And that is the PPP of the past. That's the PPP of the present. And it will be the PPP of the future. And that is why we say to you again, all them fancy billboard and posters. I think Jermaine Figueroa from Linden said it best. Loud shouts in the marketplace doesn't mean sales, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Loud shouts in the marketplace doesn't mean a sale.
Mm-hmm.
So all them
Mm-hmm.
red t-shirt and fancy billboard and them thing, one thing you should note is your taxpayers' money they're using to put them up. That's the first thing. You
Mm-hmm.
understand me? But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean, and that is why we are on the ground throughout this country in all of these municipalities and constituency. We are on the ground. We're meeting with people, and just as I tell you here on this program, Sherrod, just like this, I'm telling the people that in politics there is perception and there is reality. I am here to tell you about the reality. If the PPP is building a road in your community, PPP and doing have you a favor.
Correct. Correct.
Every single money you spend in this country, you are paying taxes, whether it's value added tax and so forth, you are paying for that. So when they're building the road in your area, you must tell them there's only now they come, they should make, yeah, and you have to ensure that they build it right. So they're doing you a favor. And that's the other part. There is this whole talk about I think it was the EU recommendation for elections in this country that we have to pass legislation which will tell you who are the financiers of political parties. Jagdeo has issues because he said some of the people who financing the PPP may not want the name to go out there. What people? What people, Sherrod? The people that Jagdeo talking about is Bank of Guyana. It's we taxpayers' money is what the PPP takes out and use
Yeah.
for their campaign. In
Yeah.
Sophia, for example, some mischief one who is campaigning in Plum Park, he is a councillor, but sorry, he is a candidate, wants to be a counselor. He ain't got a penty name, but suddenly he is issuing contracts. You hear
Mm-hmm.
me? The
Mm-hmm.
man
Mm-hmm.
ain't got a penty name and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
issuing government contracts. He's not a
Yeah.
government employee. He's not
Yeah.
working no minute. He's issuing contracts. And that is the level of corruption that is happening in this country.
The
That is what the
madness.
PPP is doing. So when they got the candidates running wrong, it's like, okay, the talk is from people and people say we gotta get this drain clean. Suddenly the candidate could hire a truck.
Correct. Correct.
The same candidate who
Correct.
just jump out a bus and walk in your street suddenly could hire a truck
Yeah.
to come and
Yeah.
clean up your community.
Yeah.
You
Chris,
understand me?
let me pull in our shadow minister for foreign affairs and international cooperation, because the streets, for instance, in New Amsterdam were a certain way for 3 years. Suddenly, one done in 3 years could do in a week.
Exactly.
Amansu, do we have you there? One do in 3 years could do in a week. You know, being told
Hi,
that.
hi, Sharon. Hi, Chris.
Hey.
A very good day, Amansu. Go right ahead.
Am I coming through clearly because I'm on the move? So I'm
We're
not
happy.
sure if, if you're hearing me clearly.
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly. Folks, let us know if you hear Amanza clearly at your end. Magnell and Ingrid. Akeem Peters says corruption is the seed of societal degradation. Now, here's a scholar. Let us know if you're hearing the shadow. Minister for Foreign Affairs, folks. Amanza is with us. Amanza, you've been on the ground. You've been going around the folks saying loud and clear. You've been making the arguments. What is the pulse out there?
I'll tell you that people are so interested, and that is what I'm happy to see and to hear, because I believe more and more people are beginning to understand and appreciate just how well, like I said, more people are understanding and appreciating just how important their vote is at local government elections.
Uh-huh.
And one of the concerns that I have, though, Sharon, is that as we walk around communities, like yesterday we were in New Amsterdam, there's a proliferation of contract workers. There's a proliferation of contract workers as it relates to the quarantine there in that Berbice Region 6 area. And
Uh-huh.
some of
Uh-huh.
them are saying to us, look, we're being told that we have to take a photograph of our vote and show it to our supervisors in order to keep our 10-day contract job.
Wow.
And so votes, people must be free to cast their votes without coercion. And what we are hearing on the ground is that people are feeling coerced
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
through these means to display who they vote for. Who you
Mm-hmm.
vote for is between you and God,
Yeah.
and ought to be between you and God. I'm
Yeah.
hearing the same thing when we go on the ground in Linden. I have heard it in Region 3. So I'm beginning to see a problem emerging. This pattern of intimidating people into voting and into displaying who they vote for. And I think it is something that warrants attention because elections must be free, which means that a person must be able to go and cast a ballot, and they must be able to cast a ballot in keeping with their conscience
Correct.
and not because they feel coerced that they will lose their bread and butter if they do not vote a certain um, way. So that's one of the things that I want to flag because we're hearing it more and more, and it's becoming very concerning to me. But I believe that the people are engaged. Like Christopher said, the noise in the market has never been the same. And this psychological warfare that John Deere is trying to wage with flagging everywhere with taxpayers' money and appearing to, take some rejects to say, oh, they've gone over to the PPP, so the PPP must be doing a good thing. It is simply psychological tricks, and the people must not means that you have assessed in your community what is um, the best candidate, who is the best candidate to represent your interests in the elections. And so you have to make that
Yeah.
determination.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can't be bribed and bought, etc. You must resist that, out of hand and vote for the people that you know have displayed that they have your interest at heart. The PPPC has demonstrated that they have the entire Guyanese population, they don't have their interests at heart. So I truly believe that the people are going to come out and they're going to put them to shame because at the end of the day, you had 23 years plus another 3 years
Yeah. Yeah.
to do all of these things, and you have done none of it. And so I think Chris, articulated very well their motives for wanting to now control the city centers and to control um, the municipalities. It is sinister, and they have to be rejected for the sake of all Guyanese.
Excellent. 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 Mansa, I want to preempt some more and ask you some more of what people might be saying to you, as y'all are out there making the case about perhaps their daily living, 2.5 years, 3 years out of the PPP. Are their lives better? Are their lives better?
The people do not feel as if their lives have been improved. And people are resenting the fact that the PPP is seeking to reduce them to a state of mendicancy and to become a handout population.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People want to work, they want to be able to earn their livelihoods and not to have to sell their soul to get by in a country that belongs to them.
10,000
And
and
there
a
is a
box of cocoa.
growing resentment. There is a growing resentment on the ground. In Linden, They were giving away free barbecue as if to say, okay, come, you could be bought with barbecue,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
And the people rejected that because people are beginning to resent
Yeah.
being treated less than
Yeah.
human beings.
Amanza, I remember a fella who was never condemned by the PPP. He said you want to throw a party and cook a pot. And we ain't gonna do that for Guyanese. Right? He said and throw a party and I can cook a pot and I can poison all them. That sounds a little bit like that. That sounds a little bit like
So,
that.
and these are the types of tropes, Sharon,
Yeah.
that you come up with on a daily basis. Now, instead of creating an environment where Guyanese people can work, can live, they are paid a proper salary, we have the revenue to do it. It is not a case where it was like the AP and new AFC that we didn't have the oil money. We have the oil money now, and we were able to raise the standard of living of Guyanese for those years without a cent of oil money. And you have these guys who, instead of taking a prudent approach to managing our economics and the country's economy, they are splurging and wasting money and misapplying taxpayers' monies. And we are, I'm afraid, if we continue on this path, going to reap some very bitter seeds, the harvest of some very bitter seeds that this PPP government is planting. Everywhere you go, Guyanese, except the family and favorites, are in a state of mendicancy. They want you to sell your soul to be able to get by. Look, we had a colleague of ours, Sharon Smith, in
Uh-huh.
Manchester, a woman with a niece and daughter at home, etc., that she takes care of, spend the night on a bench in Wim because they believe that they must break people's spirits. And not only that, she was on public record saying that she got calls that if you renounce the AP and UFC and you join us, we're gonna let you go. That is the mafia-like attitude of this
Mm-hmm.
PPPC
Mm-hmm.
administration.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to caution Guyanese, Sharon,
Mm-hmm.
that whilst it is good for now, when the harvest is ripe and we begin to reap the harvest of the lawlessness that we are allowing and condoning today, may God have mercy on us and our children.
Yep, yep, yep. May God have mercy on us indeed. I see Chris has joined us. Again, Chris, what are your thoughts? Mans has laid out a number of things there for us.
You know, and the point, Sherrod. Listen, I mean, even further than that, there is the case in Georgetown, and comes back again to not only that the PPP operates a mafia style, but as I said before, they rule by fear and intimidation,
Correct,
and
correct, correct.
the use of, well, economic deprivation and threats of that sort, but they also use the Ghana police force for their own whims and fancies. Now, Amanda spoke about the young lady there in Region 6, and it's exclusive to Region 6 because it has happened on two occasions in Georgetown. Just recently, who is a current counselor of the Georgetown City Council, Dexter Ford, was arrested by the police, held just beyond 72 hours, and for what? An allegation that he said something to a PPP candidate. Now, I don't know which law, because not even the police apparently know that the man has breached, because when the man's legal counsel queried from them as to why the man is being held, he was told that he needs to go to their superior because all they know they get instructions. That is what is happening in Guyana. And I mean the international community there here, at times people have their own interests. And if something doesn't align with some people's interests, they don't pay any attention until, as we would say in Guyana, and excuse my language, until perhaps the shit hits the
Yeah,
fan, then you will get some responses.
yeah, yeah,
It is ruled by fear and
yeah.
intimidation. That is how the PPP operates. I recall some years ago, there was a during the PPP's 23 years. They were hosting their Congress, and for some reason best known to them, they said that they received their Congress. The police, the Guyana police force, round up young men from Agricola, Houston, Albaiston, Leopold Street. I think the numbers was about 60 something of them. Took all of them to the Brickdown police station, held them for afternoon all the way to Monday morning because the PPP was having their Congress already, and they felt that they were being threatened. Some young men were going home from work. You had mothers and wives who turned up at the hospital, at the police station. You had Robert Corbin, the late Deborah Baker, Basil Williams, Raphael Trotman, who were representation for them. And when they turn up to query why their clients are being held, they have no reason for
Correct.
them being held there.
Correct.
But just because the PPP was having a Congress and they wanted to ensure that nobody come around there, that is a sort of behavior. And I don't have to tell you of which ethnic group the young men belong to. All of them are African Guyanese. And that is how the People's Progressive Party Civic, particularly under the leadership of Jack, who is current president of this country, irrespective of what we say, who surround themselves and say that they're president, Jack Dio is running the show. And that is how Jack Dio operates. I recall an election when David Granger was vying for president in 2011. It was Bharat Jagdeo who went to his supporters at Luziknan, and he said to the supporters that the day David Granger becomes president, the soldier man them, I quote again, the soldier man them go kick down your door and rape your daughters and wife. Now, who are the soldier men? Who are the members of the Ghana police force? It is not blatant. Those recordings are all over there with Jagdeo, and that is the policy of the People's Progressive Party Civic. That is how the People's Progressive Party portrayed us as a people in this country. That is why we say to those out there that this local government election and some friend who bring red jersey to you and you get work and job and them sort of thing, you are selling your soul to the devil himself, and the devil rears red. And every time you have blood in the streets of this country, it is red. It is the PPP. It is beyond that. It is more than just local government elections. I mean, I'm just being repetitive. The People's Progressive Party Civic, Sherrod Duncan, in my 26 years as a political activist in this country, has not changed. The PPP only does something when it benefits the PPP, their friends, family, and favorites.
Correct on all counts. Correct on all counts. Folks, you can't come on this program and left guns. Chief Whip, Parliamentary Chief Whip for the Parliamentary Opposition, we want to thank you guys for coming by. It's a hard landing to the end of our program, folks. These guys are on the ground, busy, getting the word out, right? And people are responding positively in all quarters. In all quarters. Chris, thank you for coming by. Final thoughts.
So these elections are about to be had. It is a mere days away. We've articulated to you and have been doing so not only in this particular season, but throughout all of the years in our political atom. And we say to you that the plan of the APNU, as I shared earlier, is about real development of the capital city. It's about giving people who reside in the city the opportunity to live and thrive. Should you allow the PPP to get control of the municipalities, whether it be Georgetown, Linden, New Amsterdam, Baratika, or several of those NDCs, the people view and they want to ensure the economic well-being of their people. Many of those properties that have outstanding rates and taxes, by law, the municipality is supposed to foreclose and sell those properties. If the PPP has that authority, they will sell those very properties in these municipalities to their supporters. That Pontrench Road, that big fancy back road and Mandela Avenue, is not for us who reside in Georgetown. The PPP financiers have plans to develop those areas and they want out. And the only way they can get you out is that the PPP got to get in the municipality.
Yep, yep, yep. Well said, Chris. Thanks again for coming by. Christopher Jones, the Parliamentary Opposition Chief Whip, Amanda Walton, Desir, Shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ganesh Mahi Paul stopped by as well, and he's the Shadow Minister for Local Government and Regional Development. Thanks, all. Thanks, guys.
Most welcome.
Excellent. Folks, that's going to do it for us at this end. We're going to see you guys back on our next broadcast. More than 800 of you stop by. Share the live. Smash that emoji button for us, folks. And let me go down the road. Good to see so many of you on the live today. Here's Linking. Yvette Gordon and John. Yvonne Ramasai, Loretta Argyle. Good to see you, folks. Good to see you. Rosetta Barchan. And all the other guys joining us. Little Prek. Good to see you too. Ronald Hanover. Great to see each and every one of you. Guys, thank you so much for coming by. You out there listening to us, you're the one who makes a difference. You're the ones who make the difference in these programs, folks. Thanks for coming by. That is going to do it for us today. Thanks for coming by, folks. Stay safe.